It's a Tuesday, April 9th, Tuesday, 2024. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the first ever live edition of Jacked Up with me, WTOV9 Sports' Jack Hillgrove. Very happy to be live across all of the WTOV9 digital platforms this evening as we're getting ready to talk all things sports in, around, up and down, and across the Ohio Valley and beyond. Again, Tuesday, April 9th, 2024. Thank you so much as the viewers are starting to roll in here for the very first ever live edition of Jacked Up with Jack Hillgrove. We have a couple of topics to hit tonight. If you have any comments, questions, anything about sports that you want to talk about, don't be afraid to comment. Leave a comment on the stream. If you got a question about any sports topic out there, shoot it in there. It'll pop up on your screen like this. There's an example one for you right now. I can see them as they come across. We'll pop them up. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about in and around the Ohio Valley and across on the world of sports as well. Again, thanks for filing in here. Looking at the viewer count, 60 of you tuning in. Gracious of you. I'm grateful for you to be spending your Tuesday night with me. So let's hop right into it, and we'll talk about one of the hottest teams across baseball and the Pittsburgh Pirates. They were momentum crazy going into their Tuesday afternoon game against Detroit, and I think that there's still a lot to be excited about when it comes to the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're 9-3 to start the year. But you can't help but look at this loss today to Detroit 5-3 and feel a little bit concerned about the closing pitcher, David Bednar. His third blown save already this year. You go into the ninth inning up 3-1 with a two-time All-Star closer in Bednar. Two-time All-Star. 40 saves a year ago for a team that only won, 76 games? Rightfully so, deserving of an all-star. And look, he's a Pittsburgh kid, grew up, went to Mars High School just outside of the city limits of Pittsburgh, traded to the Pirates a couple of years ago from San Diego, and has made his name as one of the best closing pitchers, not just in the National League, but across all of baseball. And he comes in today, 23 pitches, only 9 of them strikes. He, getting hit a ton, sure. Base hit after base hit, game gets tied. But, he was missing the strike zone left and right. 9 strikes on only 23 pitches as the Tigers score 4 in the ninth inning to go on to win 5-3. I'm concerned for David Bednar. I really am. I think there might be some injury issues lingering there. I think he's got the ability to be able to right the ship a little bit and get back to the Bednar and the all-star version of David Bednar that we know. But so far this year, a 12.46 ERA, 3 blown saves, back-to-back blown saves. He blew one on Saturday. It was his last appearance against the Orioles. And you come out today and you blow another save. It was just one of those things where you can't help but be a little bit concerned about what you're seeing out of the guy that's supposed to be the closer, especially when you go out and you spend $10 million on a guy like Aroldis Chapman, who has made a living as a very good relief pitcher and a guy you want in big-time situations, playoff-like situations in the 8th, in the 9th inning for really good teams. Chapman so far this season for the Buccos, 4 1/3, no hits, a walk, 8 strikeouts, and no earned runs. He's throwing lights out, triple digits on the radar gun, 101, 102, and just has more of a confidence, more of a moxie about him in that role in the 8th inning. If I'm Derek Shelton, I really explore the idea for right now. Maybe you move Bednar to the injured list. You bring up a guy, a relief arm, an extra relief arm from the minor leagues for the 10, 20 days, whatever, and just make sure Bednar gets right. I don't think it would hurt, especially this early on in the season, to put a guy like Aroldis Chapman, especially because he's so familiar with the closer role, throwing him in that situation for a week or two, seeing how he handles it. And if you're sitting to yourself and you're thinking, man, I don't know that Bednar deserves that right about now. I don't know that either. I don't necessarily agree that he deserves to, be taken off of the closer role. But the control was not good. He was hitting guys, 9 strikes on 23 pitches. It just did not look like the David Bednar that we are used to as Pirates fans. I think he might be able to benefit and sit back and take some time to try and get this thing right. Because I picked the Pirates to win 83 games this year. And a large part of that was because O'Neal Cruz was returning to the lineup, sure, but David Bednar was an all-star closer for the last 2 years. I definitely had it in my mindset when I picked the Pirates to win 83 games that David Bednar was going to be pitching in some really, really big situations in ninth innings as this team hopefully tries to contend for a playoff spot. Now, it's one of those things where you look at the situation with Bednar now and you say, maybe we take some time to assess what's going on, flip Chapman into that role. It's not like he's not experienced as a closing pitcher. I mean, he's done some pretty remarkable things in that role. The Cuban Missile, just 101, 102 on the radar gun. I don't think that it would hurt. Now, as we shift into a little bit more of a positive talk of the Pirates, 9-3 to start this year, and they are figuring out how to win ball games in different situations. You look at some of these guys and the production that they're getting out of players like Connor Joe, team leader in batting average. Today was the first time the Pirates lost without Connor Joe in the lineup. The 2 losses previous, Joe had been on the bench. I'm not saying that he's going to be the best player on the team or anything like that, but you see a guy like Connor Joe hitting .324, a guy like Ke'Bryan Hayes, .313, who had tremendous momentum at the end of last season at the plate. You knew what he was like in the field, an elite defensive third baseman, but he continues that positive upswing at the dish in 2024 that he had late last season, hitting .313, an OPS of near 800. It's good stuff out of Ke'Bryan Hayes, and of course O'Neal Cruz near 300, and there's just a ton of power there. He is just fun to watch. A young guy who I really think could be one of the stars for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and one of the, not just the stars of the Pirates, but one of these guys that maybe 2-3 years down the road when we're assessing Pittsburgh sports as a whole, that he's just a namestay, a big-time player when you think of current Pittsburgh professional athletes. Because Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin aren't going to be around forever. Andrew McCutchen, I think, you look at what he's doing so far this year, only hitting .208 and 24 at-bats. But I think that prime McCutchen is very much left several years ago. But that name and what he's done for this organization will always keep him in relevance and in prominence. But as we shift to the future, and with the Steelers, I mean, TJ Watt is still in the middle of his prime, but a lot of certain things can go in different ways for him. I mean, he's getting up there in age as well, in his 30s. Cam Hayward might only have a season or 2 left. My point with all of that is I think O'Neal Cruz is going to be a guy that we look at. When we think Pittsburgh elite athletes, professional athletes, he's going to be at the top of the list. And another guy, too, I think is going to be at the top of that list is Paul Skeens. Whenever we may see him in a Pirates uniform, hopefully it is sooner rather than later. Man, I'm really, really excited to watch Paul Skeens pitch for the Major League Pirates. I think he's going to be so good. I think he's going to be a Rookie of the Year candidate when it's all said. And it all also depends on how quick they get him up here. With the Super 2 rule, you have to wait until a certain date in June, and if they bring him up post that date, they get an extra year of Major League control on him. That might be how the Pirates look at that, but I don't know, man. I think you got to get him up here as soon as possible. But the starting pitching so far for the Pirates, I think, is holding up pretty darn well. Martin Perez today went 8 innings and only gave up 1 earned run. Mitch Keller, 9 strikeouts the other day. That's the top of your rotation right now, and it's holding up pretty darn good. So if guys like, guys like Marco Gonzalez and guys like Jared Jones, a rookie, if they can kind of sort themselves out another role, and then Bailey Falter, I think when Skeens comes up, I think Falter will be the guy that he replaces in the rotation. But if Skeens comes up here, man, and he is as good as I think a lot of Pirate fans are expecting him to be, him, Perez, Keller, I think are a very, very good 1, 2, 3. Now, a lot's got to go into that too. Keller and Perez have to hold up and things of that nature. But Perez so far in a couple of starts, 19 innings, 15 strikeouts. Keller, 17 innings, 17 strikeouts. Jared Jones, 11 2/3, 17 strikeouts. I think the stat was Jared Jones and Shohei Ohtani in recent history were the only two to have as many strikeouts in their first two major league starts, that's pretty darn good company to be in if you're Jared Jones. But right now, other than the David Bednar situation, I think all is kind of pointing in the right direction for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, this time last year, they had a similar record. They ended up 20-8 by the end of April, and we're like, whoa, what's going on with the Buccos, man? Are they going to be a team that we're going to be talking about in July, August, September? That ended up not being the case because Derek Shelton got a contract extension right after the Pirates made their hot start last year, and then all of a sudden, coincidentally for Derek Shelton, the Buccos started to tank a little bit and ended up finishing below 500. But I think you're looking at a different team this year. I think a guy like Martin Perez in the starting rotation is better than a guy like Rich Hill than they had in that spot a year ago. By this point last year, O'Neal Cruz was done for the season. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. He's available. Connor Joe's playing at a more elevated level than he was a year ago in his first year with the Buccos. And the bullpen, despite what Bednar's going through right now with Aroldis Chapman and Roansy Contreras and Luis Ortiz and Ryan Baraki, guys coming in and giving you good stuff, I think there's a lot to be excited about. Definitely think there's a lot to be excited about. Please don't be shy. Leave some comments. Again, thank you for joining us on this Tuesday evening, April the 9th, 2024. If you want to talk about a certain topic when it comes to sports, leave a comment. We'll pop you up on the screen and we'll discuss whatever you want to talk about. We just started the show talking about the Buccos, 9-3 start. And if you have any comments about the Pirates, if you have any comments, if you're, from the Ohio Valley and you're a Reds or a Guardians fan, they're off to pretty darn good starts as well. Guardians were losing to the Chicago White Sox the last time I checked. It is tied at 5 in the bottom of the 7th. The Guards 8-2 so far this year. I didn't realize that the White Sox were 1-9 to start the year. Yikes, that is not good stuff if you're a White Sox fan. Sorry, but the Guardians ended up tying it at 5 apiece. Brewers 5, Reds 1 through 5 innings, and that is, pretty much how all the local teams across the Ohio Valley, as far as who you're interested in, shake out. The Reds 6-4 to start the year. The Brewers 6-3, but not better than those 9-3 Buccos at the top of the NL Central. Again, it's Jacked Up. First ever live show coming to you across all the WTOV9 digital platforms. If you're watching on Facebook, hello. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you're watching us on X as well, hello to you. You're not able to comment on the stream if you're watching on X. So if you're watching and you have a question, flip it over to the YouTube or the Facebook and leave a comment and let me know what you guys want to talk about, because there's a whole lot going on right now, and especially as we shift gears here to the Pittsburgh Penguins making a playoff push. Now, last night, definitely a little bit disappointing. A 3-2 loss in overtime to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Kyle Dubas, I'm sure, probably wanted that one. Dubas, the new president of hockey ops and GM of the Penguins, had spent the previous 8 years or so in the Maple Leafs organization, was their GM from 2018 to 2023. And with his current club and the Gwins making that push for the postseason like they have been the last couple of weeks, I'm sure Dubas wanted his new squad to take his old squad to school. But when you've got a guy like Austin Matthews in Toronto who scored 65 goals this year, it's hard to beat. They had him, though. They had him in overtime. P.O. Joseph with a shot on net with about 6 minutes left. Drew O'Connor was Johnny on the spot, so to speak, able to send it into overtime, deflect it into the net, and Matthews is able to find Jake McCabe for the game-winning goal. But the Penguins picked up a much-needed point in that regard because it gets them to 84 points on the season, which right now is good for tied with Detroit for that second and final wild card playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. If you would have asked me a month ago, or if you would have told me a month ago that we'd be talking about the Penguins making the postseason, I would have said you were crazy, but here we are. Penguins 36, 30, and 12, 84 points on the season. If you're a Blue Jackets fan, I'm sorry. They are the worst team in the Eastern Conference, eliminated from postseason contention. They're not the San Jose Sharks, though. San Jose is awful, 44 points. Chicago not having a good year either. Anaheim, all worse than the Blue Jackets. But Columbus, Ottawa, Montreal eliminated from postseason contention, and more teams eliminated in the Western Conference in the NHL. Seattle, Calgary, Arizona, Anaheim, Chicago, and San Jose all out of the mix there. Minnesota in the West kind of on the outside looking in. St. Louis more so. And to put it in perspective, like you look at the Western Conference wildcard standings, Minnesota's got 83 points. St. Louis has 87. They're the only two that are out right now that aren't mathematically eliminated. Vegas right now has that final wild card spot in the West with 92 points. The team right behind them is 5 points back, and there's only 4 or 5, depending on how many games left each team has in the regular season, 4 or 5 games left. A couple of teams have 6, but none of them in contention as I look down the list. Like Seattle, Calgary have 6 games left, but they're obviously eliminated. So you look at that in the West and you think, man, Minnesota, especially with no games in hand on Vegas, and St. Louis does have a game against them against the Golden Knights. So they only have 4 games left. Vegas has 5. So much more of an uphill battle for teams on the outside looking in the West. You look at the East, the Penguins are right there. The Capitals are right there, and the Flyers are right there as well. Penguins with 84 points. That's tied with Detroit for that final spot. And then Washington, Philly with 83, New Jersey and Buffalo really on the outside looking in with 79 points and really no games in hand in that regard. But the Penguins play the Red Wings on Thursday, and that is going to be the biggest game of the season for Pittsburgh. Absolutely. You've got the team you're tied with in the wild card standings. Pens win on Thursday. They're in with 3 games left. And then the final game of the regular season, they've got New York. And as we shift to the divisional standings in the Metropolitan Division, yeah, you're looking at the Penguins right now and you're saying to yourself that maybe their easiest avenue to the playoffs is that wild card. But not necessarily. I think you could make a case that it's easier in the Metropolitan Division because the top 3 teams in each division make the playoffs automatically, and then there's 2 wild cards from both divisions in the East. The Pens are only 1 point back of the Islanders for that final wild card playoff spot in the Metro. And the Pens' final regular season game is against the Islanders. So that could very much be a win in your in type game for Pittsburgh against the Islanders, and it's certainly got that feel on Thursday night as the Penguins take on the Red Wings. So there are a couple of games right now, if you're a diehard Pens fan, you'll want to keep an eye on because it could have pretty darn good implications for the Penguins. And right now, 2 of the, 1.5, I guess, because you got one that's tied. There are 3 games right now for the Penguins that you need a team to beat another team to really give yourself a good spot. You need Montreal over Philly tonight. All these games are in progress. You need Montreal over Philly tonight. You need Washington over Detroit, and you need the Rangers over the Islanders. So all 3 of those games in progress right now. The Islanders up on the Rangers, 13:43 left in the second period, 3-0. That's not good. Because that'll put, if that holds up, that'll put the Islanders 3 points ahead of the Penguins, and then they need a little bit more help. Then at that point, it makes the wild card situation the easier avenue for the Penguins to make the playoffs. Washington and Detroit are tied at 0, 7 minutes left in the second period, and Montreal right now up on Philadelphia. Ooh, we just got a goal scored. Juraj Sladkovsky just now scored for Montreal. So they're up 2-0 over the Flyers. And that helps because it kind of can create more separation between the Penguins and the Flyers. Because if they win, you get 85 points, then that would hot the Penguins right now, who are just off tonight and tomorrow. They have Detroit at I skipped the day. Whoops. Home on Thursday inside PPG Paints Arena. If you're planning on going to the game, let me know. That should be a pretty darn cool atmosphere inside PPG Paints Arena. 120 of you tuning in right now. Certainly appreciate it. Like I said, if anybody's got anything that they want to talk about, throw it in the comments. I'd be happy to field a couple of questions, field a couple of comments from you guys as we roll along here on Jacked Up. Talking Pirates, 9-3 to start the season. Talking Penguins, trying to make the playoffs. And there's a couple of other topics that I wanted to touch upon as well as we move along here on the first ever live Jacked Up. College basketball, UConn 75, Purdue 60. Danny Hurley and UConn are quickly becoming echelons above everybody else in college basketball. And, I made this comparison on the last episode of the show that's archived on our YouTube channel. Before, to me, it felt like college basketball, and comparing it to college football, you've had, in your case, college football with teams that have been levels above everybody else. Alabama, Georgia there for a hot minute. I still think Georgia might have the upper edge on a team like Michigan right now, but Michigan winning the national championship last year. So we as sports fans and we as college sports fans have looked at college football and said, oh yeah, it's Bama and everybody else, or it's Georgia and anybody else and everybody else. That really, to me, hello. Check 1 2, check 1 2. Got a notification that the browser lost connection to the microphone, but I unmuted myself and muted back in. If you guys can let me know if you can still hear me, that'd be great. But as far as it pertains to college basketball, there's been teams that I think have been in a group by themselves. Thank you, Jamie. We can't hear you. Jamie Baker, everybody, leaving a comment on the stream. I'm going to pop her up because she is the first person to ever comment on live Jacked Up. She's out in the newsroom getting ready for News 9 at 10 on Fox 9. Her and I'm guessing Dylan Cleveland are probably tuning in. So you've had these teams in college basketball that have been all in one group together. Now I necessarily don't think that is the case with UConn being levels above everybody else. The largest margin of victory in NCAA tournament history. They won every game this year by an average of 23 points a game. Back-to-back national champions. And you look at UConn's resume as a whole going into this year, really going into last year before they won it with Danny Hurley for the first time. 4 national championships and 5 Final Fours since 99. That was going into last season together. Now as we sit here at 8:23 p.m. after the college basketball season has ended, you have 7 Final Four appearances and 6 national titles, all since 1999. Danny Hurley's got 2, Kevin Ollie had the 1, and Jim Calhoun won it 3 times. Tyler Madden, former News 9 reporter, if you're watching, you're a UConn fan. I'm sure you're pretty happy about the result of the game. And, I was talking about this with a friend the other day. And UConn, they lose their 2 leading scorers from a year ago. And they just replace all of their guys with really, really solid players. Donovan Clingan, Tristan Newton, Cam Spencer, guys that, 4 of their starters last night in the national championship in double figures. And one of the things about UConn, like you look at a team like Duke this year with Kyle Filipowski, basketball superstar, college basketball superstar. Zach Edey with Purdue, best player in the country, back-to-back player of the year. He's a college basketball superstar. I don't necessarily think that UConn's got that one guy that's like the leader of the team, the elite of the elite talent. They've got 4, 5, maybe 6 guys that are really, really good that all play well together. And Dylan Cleveland out in the newsroom saying, you'd be correct, UConn and everybody else, Zach Edey can't get it done when it matters most. Dan Hurley is a tremendous coach. And I think that that's part of the main reason why UConn is what it is right now, is because Dan Hurley, man, is just got that thing grooving like a well-oiled machine. You lose your 2 leading scorers from a year ago, and you come back with a better squad and a better run to the national championship. Like last year, with Adama Sanogo leading the way, UConn was a 4 seed and then ended up, getting their way to the national championship. This year, UConn was the number 1 overall seed of the tournament, and they went in knowing that they were, the committee thought that they were better than everybody else, and they proved it because they beat everybody up and won every game by an average of 23 points. It's incredible. It's really, really solid stuff. And if you're a college basketball fan of maybe Ohio State or West Virginia or Pitt or someone else tuning in, you're all looking up at UConn right now. And I think that it's going to be a matter of who's going to be able to dethrone the Huskies next year, because I'm not sure that it gets done. They might three-peat. Who the heck knows? One of the teams that was always, and probably for the most part will always stay in contention, is Kentucky. They're a blue blood. Always have been, really, for the most part. You go back to the days of Adolph Rupp. He became the head coach in like 1930 and made that program dominant. And then you've got guys like Rick Pitino, Tubby Smith that come in and win national championships. And their most recent head coach, John Calipari, Pittsburgh native, former assistant at Pitt, former head coach at Memphis and UMass, had success there. He's gone. He is now the head coach at Arkansas, reportedly. And they haven't officially come out and I don't think said that yet. I know John Calipari tweeted out a video today announcing that he is moving on from Kentucky. Now, in that video, he did not say anything about Arkansas or a new job or anything like that. He did say that he was going to continue to coach, and all these reports out there that suggest that he is on his way to Arkansas. The owners of Tyson Chicken are a big-time donor for the Razorbacks, and apparently they put out a pretty penny for him, and it enticed him to move on to an SEC foe. It's interesting. It really is interesting. As a guy that rooted for Calipari growing up, being a Pittsburgh guy, I really never thought that he would really leave Kentucky. Made his way up through the ranks, obviously, took UMass to a Final Four, took Memphis with Derrick Rose to the national title game, and then got his big-time job, Kentucky. Made a home of it down there. Signed a lifetime contract. You look at that on paper and you say to yourself, yeah, he's in it for the long haul. He's up there in age now, late 50s, or it might even be in his 60s. He's going to ride it out and he'll retire there. That's not the case. He's going to be the head coach of another school in the SEC in Arkansas. It's going to be really interesting to see that dynamic next year. Arkansas coming to Rupp Arena. I'm not off the top of my head familiar with how the scheduling works out in the SEC. But if that happens, that'll be must-see TV for sure. Must-see TV for sure. College basketball season is over. UConn 75, Purdue 60 in the national championship. And Richard chiming in. Richard, thanks for the comment. This is where we're headed to next. WrestleMania was awesome. You're darn right it was awesome. It was the coolest thing that I'd seen on TV in a really, really long time. I wanted to get, in on this topic as well. And if you're sitting to yourself thinking, man, WWE, wrestling, really? Like, we're here to talk about sports? WrestleMania 40 was the greatest WrestleMania of all time, and it deserves some recognition because you looked at the WWE maybe 3-4 years ago with the emergence of the other pro company in AEW, and like, man, you're just thinking to yourself, the WWE might be in trouble and there might be some serious competition. Some things happen with Vince McMahon. He's out, and Triple H is now running the company as the chief creative officer, I believe is his main title, and he knocked WrestleMania 40 out of the park. The whole build to Cody Rhodes finishing the story and beating Roman Reigns was some of the best storytelling that the WWE has ever done. Might have been the best storytelling that the WWE has ever done. And I'm talking about just the telling of the story leading up to the main event. And we'll talk about the main event too. And before we do that, I want to give some shout out to some other moments as well. Damian Priest cashing in his Money in the Bank contract and beating ultimately Drew McIntyre was a cool moment. CM Punk getting in there and costing Drew the title definitely builds a feud for the future. I thought the first match on night one with Rhea Ripley defeating Becky Lynch was really good. Sami Zayn defeating Gunther in a very emotional match as well. That was really awesome to see. And the penultimate main event with Bayley and Io Sky I thought was a really good match as well. So the quality of the performances from all the superstars I thought was great. The storytelling, obviously, with Cody Rhodes coming into the fold and finishing his story was great. Richard says it was the best storytelling since Undertaker Kane. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, there's some other feuds, and other builds in recent history that I think stick out as well. The whole feud with John Cena and CM Punk before he left the company I thought was great. Cena and Orton was great. Cena Rock. I mean, you look at the Attitude Era and a lot of the 21st century, and John Cena's at the forefront of all of it. But yeah, it's been great. And the main event was just off the wall. If you're a Marvel fan, I compare the main event of night 2 to WWE's Avengers Endgame because it was just all over the place and in a really good way. Tyler Madden, former News 9 reporter, now with our sister station out in Cincinnati, Ohio. Sorry I'm late to the party. Go Huskies. Yeah, man. Must be nice rooting for the best team in the country. Anywho, so you get the first chunk of the match with Cody and Roman, going at each other, doing a pretty good job. And then, Jimmy Uso comes in, and then Jey Uso comes in, and those two go at it. And then a tremendous spot off the stage and into a table some feet below was a crazy moment. And then Solo Sikoa makes his way out there, and you're thinking to yourself as a wrestling fan, all right, last year, Solo Sikoa messing up with John Cena. We're getting Cena. Boom. Cena's music hits. The place goes nuts. So that already adds to it. You remember that as a fan with John Cena and Solo Sikoa from a year ago. Those two start going at it. And then the nostalgia. If you smell. And then Cena and Rock face off in the ring. And all at the same time, none of it overshadows the two in the main event with Cody and Roman because they go back to it in a phenomenal way. Richard, I see your comment. I'll pop you up in a moment. We'll get to it in a second. So Cena and Rock go at it, and then you get Rock on top of Cody, thinking, oh boy, here we go. Here it goes again. And then gong, Undertaker coming out. It was the passing of the torch from the locker room. Yeah, and I think a lot maybe what happened too. My prediction with it, Richard, is that I think that they probably approached Stone Cold Steve Austin first, and he said no because you got Cena with Solo, Cena and Rock vintage, and then you would have got Rock and Austin in their first WrestleMania match way back when was in Philadelphia, so that would have been pretty darn cool. But I think what might have happened was they would have told or asked Steve Austin, and he might have declined because I think you heard the pop that The Undertaker got. Literally, the lights went out. He comes up, hits Rock with a chokeslam, disappears. He was on screen for maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds. Imagine what how that crowd would have erupted if you heard the glass shatter and Stone Cold came out there in his jorts. Maybe they didn't have enough room for guys with jorts. They had Cena, and they thought, you know what? We only have room for one guy that wears jorts. We don't have a second one. Anyway, And then the match ultimately culminates with Cody versus Roman. You get Seth Rollins in Shield gear. For a moment, I thought it might have been Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, because he's been away from the competition company in AEW for a little bit. But it was Seth Rollins in Shield gear. Storytelling there. Him and Roman Reigns obviously used to be a faction, used to be brothers of of the Shield. And Roman chooses to hit Seth Rollins with the chair, take his eye off of Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes counters the spear. Couple of finishers from Cody Rhodes. I think 3 crossroads, 1, 2, 3. Finish the story. Great ending. And we're in a new era of the WWE. Jamie Baker misses the Bella Twins. I don't know that the Bella Twins miss wrestling, Jamie. They've got their own thing going on and have for a long time. But we're in a new era, and it's going to be fun to watch. Pro wrestling is cool again. If you haven't watched in a while, if you've just been away from it, I highly suggest coming back into the fold and hopping on the pro wrestling train again. Some more comments rolling in. Alex, hello. Will there be a baseball game in Caldwell, Ohio? If so, can you go there? Alex, thanks for chiming in. Right now, and this is another thing I wanted to get onto, our WVU Medicine High School Grand Slam baseball broadcasts here at WTOV9 kickoff on Thursday. Alex, if you know us, you know that we cover the Ohio Valley up and down pretty lucratively. I'd have to imagine we'll see the Caldwell Redskins at some point this baseball season. But for right now, our Grand Slam baseball broadcast schedule, it begins on Thursday. Steubenville hosting Wheeling Park should be a good one. Saw the game a couple of weeks ago at Wheeling Park. Patriots jumped on them early. Big Red made a push late. Wheeling Park ended up getting the win at home, I think by 3 runs, but it was a good game. Certainly anticipate the same on Thursday. You'll be able to watch it all on these platforms as well, with live streaming on the Facebook and the YouTube. And then if you're in the area, live on Fox 9 at 5 o'clock. Then on Friday, St. Clairsville visiting Mazeroski Field in Cadiz. Harrison Central hosting their Buckeye 8 foe in St. C, so that should be a good one as well. Had the chance to see St. Clairsville yesterday in Mingo Junction. Shout out to Brody Saunders of the Red Devils. No hitter, 3-0. St. C goes on to win. Really cool way to end it too. A double play at first base. Flying drive at third base, throw to first. Pretty cool celebration as well. Thursday, yeah, this is another thing. Severe storms for the Ohio Valley. Nathan, Jeff, Amanda, best weather team in the Ohio Valley. They'll be on it for sure. If you're from the area, you know that last week a lot of flooding, and our 3 very talented meteorologists were all over the coverage, and so are the rest of our news team as well. Yeah, it's definitely no coincidence that all of our live broadcasts are on turf fields. That's for sure. The turf gives you more of a likelihood to play. So hopefully the weather holds off. Definitely looking forward to a good broadcast on Thursday with Wheeling Park and Big Red. Be joined in the broadcast booth by Ohio Valley legend, Steubenville native, World Series champ, Rich Donnelly. A joy to work with. Happy to get him back into the fold for high school Grand Slam baseball on all 5 broadcasts this season. Rich, somehow, if you're watching, I'm looking forward to our broadcast on Thursday. And I know Rob is looking forward to doing the game with you on Friday. So I'll be handling the play-by-play on Thursday with Rich at Steubenville. Rob and Rich will have the game. Rob Metzger on the play-by-play, and Cadiz on Friday. Look at Alex giving us some promo. If anybody knows what time the store's coming in, tune in at News 9 at 10 on Fox 9 and News 9 tonight. Heck yeah, Alex. Number 1 news team, number 1 and most trusted news up and down the Ohio Valley, and it's been that way for a long time. Yeah, if anybody's got any more comments and questions, talking sports up and down the valley, we'll kind of spend the last couple of minutes here with some open topics in that regard. So we were talking Pirates, we were talking the Penguins and their playoff push. Actually, it's with a little bit of downtime here, it's a good time to check the scores of those other games. Again, if you missed it, Oh, wow. Yeah. If you missed it, there's 3 games if you're a Penguin fan that you need to be keeping your eye on tonight for their playoff chances. Montreal had to beat Philly. The Islanders had to lose to the Rangers, and Washington needed to beat Detroit. And so far, so good. The Rangers with, I believe, 2 unanswered? Was it 3-0 New York? I think it was. Yes, it was. So the Rangers 2 unanswered. They're trying to make a late push. There's 3 minutes and 50 seconds left in that game. Alex, thanks for checking in, man. I hope to see you on the stream soon. Montreal blew it wide open on Philadelphia, 6-0, 2:15 left in the second period. Never say never, but never, to quote Mike Tomlin. And Washington up on Detroit 2-0 at the end of 2. So things in that regard looking good. The Flyers would stay behind the Penguins. The Red Wings would stay tied with the Penguins. And the one that's like whatever is Washington would leapfrog them by a point. But the Penguins can leapfrog them on Thursday with a big win against Detroit. A potential big win against Detroit. They got to win. Absolutely have to win on Thursday. Must win hockey for sure. Richard, Edison football schedule. I don't know it off the top of my head. If you want to talk some Edison Wildcats football, we definitely can. Baseball team was hosting Weir High today. I was there. Weir High, an 11-0 win over the Wildcats. Those highlights coming up tonight on in my sportscast, News 9 at 10 on Fox 9, News 9 tonight as well. We'll have highlights of the Buccos and David Bednar blowing the save. We'll have highlights of the Guardians. We can check those scores for you as well. Guardians, now they were down 5-3, tied at 5-5, 7-5 White Sox, bottom 8. Reds, Milwaukee blew it open, 9-1 in the bottom of the 7th. The Brewers on top of Cincinnati. Some other scores across baseball. Toronto 5, Seattle 0, Atlanta 4, the Mets zip, Astros 3, Royals 0. That game at the top of the 4th. Dodgers up on the Twins 3-0. Let's check and see if our guy Michael Grove, Wheeling Park grad, he getting any action tonight. No, former Pirate Tyler Glasnow still pitching strong. Through 4, 1 hit, 8 strikeouts. Probably won't be seeing our guy Michael Grove in the fold tonight. But how about that, man? I mean, it's been fun watching him the last couple of years. If you're not familiar, Wheeling Park grad Michael Grove went to West Virginia for baseball, graduated from WVU, gets into the Dodgers system, and the last couple of years has been in the fold, making spot starts, appearances out of the bullpen for the Los Angeles Dodgers. He's right now on the Major League roster for the Dodgers. 11.74 ERA this season so far. Not great, but 4 appearances so far. You'd have to imagine that that'll climb down. But last year, 18 appearances, 12 starts for the Dodgers. It was a 2-3 with a 6.13 ERA, 73 strikeouts to only 19 walks. So he had a pretty decent year last year. And he still managed to find himself a home on the big club with additions like Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Shohei Ohtani. So it's really cool to see a local guy like Michael Grove get into the fold in that regard as well. And forgive me here as I bring the keyboard over to look something up. Not necessarily Ohio Valley, but Ohio Valley adjacent. John Glenn's Colt Emerson was drafted in the first round a year ago by the Seattle Mariners, and he tore it up at the rookie level and in single A. Last year, a .374 batting average as a 17-year-old in the Mariners organization. Right now, out in Modesto in single A, he's hitting .308, only 13 at bats so far, but 4 for 13 to start the year, 2 home runs. Watched him beat Indian Creek last year in the sectional. Cool to see somewhat of a local kid do good as well. He's only 18 years old. His birthday isn't until July. He'll be 19 in July. So definitely a bright future for that young man ahead of himself as well. Still over 200 of you in here. Happy to have you. Like I said, if you have any questions, I'll probably get out of here in the next 15 minutes or so to put together the sportscasts tonight at 10 and 11. So for the next 15 minutes, if you've got Any other comments or any other questions up and down sports? Doesn't have to be sports either. We could talk about whatever you want. Feel free to chime in with a question, and we'll pop you up on the stream, and we'll break it all down. Again, tonight the Pirates losing 5-3. The Penguins looking ahead to Thursday. Also, too, you'll hear in our sportscast tonight, you'll hear from David Bednar. I have to imagine that he was pretty sorry for blowing the save. And Derek Shelton as well, the decision to keep him in the ball game and continue to keep him in the role. So you'll hear from Bucs skipper Derek Shelton. You'll hear from David Bednar as well. Richard says, awesome job doing Sports Jack. Richard, thank you for chiming in with some comments, man. I appreciate it. Tyler says, first WrestleMania was epic. Yeah, it was. Absolutely, Tyler. And Tyler, thanks for chiming in. I see you've got The Rock and the Undertaker meme in your profile picture on Facebook, so that's pretty cool. Yeah, and with WWE, they went through a little bit, I feel like, of a rut. I look at some of these storylines and some of these matches from previous WrestleManias, and you're like, man, that was a WrestleMania match. But like some of these guys too that have been there maybe through the down periods of the WWE so far, like Sami Zayn had some weird feuds that I really didn't care for in the last couple of years. Drew McIntyre had a whole different character change and left the company. LA Knight was, one of those background guys. Bayley had some funny feuds. There wasn't a superstar that I didn't want to see wrestle on either night 1 or night 2 of WrestleMania. So that was just really cool. And the other one too, that was funny. You get a funny WrestleMania moment with Logan Paul and I Show Speed. With I Show Speed in the Prime bottle, and he gets hit with the RKO from Randy Orton. Perfect WrestleMania moment there. And Logan Paul's pretty darn good too. I mean, you look at that and you think, oh man, like, internet guy, trying to make it in the WWE. He's been super athletic and super fun to watch in his roles as well, with what storylines they've had him integrated in. I know that he's said on podcasts that his dream is to wrestle John Cena. Will be interesting to see if that ever happens. It'll be interesting to see what John Cena's future is in the WWE, because he's been open about that recently as well. Like, it's coming up on the end for Cena, and I would have to imagine that that'll be kind of a parade, kind of a, not a parade, but what's the word I'm looking for? A swan song kind of thing with Cena's. I'm sure he'll get one more good run, and it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. Richard says, my son loves Paul. I think a lot of people's sons love Logan Paul. My 4-year-old now, he'll be 4 in 2 weeks. He talks about Logan Paul, Mr. Beast, all the time. That's just the way that things are going. Richard says, after Royal Rumble for one more run. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if WrestleMania 41 would be his final go-around. He might hold. I mean, it's not like he's not like The Undertaker, who you watch him hit a choke slam on, and, for nostalgic reasons, the Undertaker's choke slam is always going to be iconic. But, yeah, I think Cena could still do it for a couple of more years, and he keeps himself in decent shape. It'll be interesting to see if Gillette Stadium gets a WrestleMania in the next couple of years, and I know that they announced that pretty well in advance. There's already rumors. I think Minneapolis and the Vikings' new stadium is going to get WrestleMania 41. But, like, if it comes out in the next year or two, like, hey, Gillette Stadium's going to get WrestleMania 42 or 43, and that's obviously in the part of the country where John Cena's from, I could see them waiting until Cena would be done at Mania if it ends up in Gillette Stadium. That would be really cool. Tyler asks, you think we could see The Rock versus Roman Reigns next year for WrestleMania 41? Tyler, that is my prediction right now. I think what's going to happen, especially watching the Raw after Mania last night with The Rock coming out, and it got weird in spots with The Rock and Cody Rhodes They had the commercial-free hour to start the show, and it just kind of got prolonged. But The Rock said in his promo, like, I'm coming after you. And The Rock's going to go away for a while, blah, blah, blah. I think what's going to happen is that The Rock and Cody Rhodes will have that title match at SummerSlam. Roman will be away for a while. Roman makes a surprise appearance at SummerSlam, costs The Rock the title against Cody Rhodes at SummerSlam, and that would build to The Rock and Roman for WrestleMania 41. I could see something like, oh, I'm the Rock. Oh, I'm the leader of the bloodline now, blah, blah, blah. They turn Roman face again. But I think that Rock Roman is very, very likely for WrestleMania 41, barring any injuries or anything like that. Richard asks, what do I think of Pat McAfee? In his role with the WWE, I think he's pretty darn cool. Another guy that gets in there and can spot and look like a competent enough professional wrestler in his own right. We saw him last year in that moment with Vince McMahon, which was hilarious. And then Steve Austin comes out and stunners Austin Theory and Mr. McMahon. Yeah, I think McAfee's fine on commentary. Sometimes he'll chime in and say some stuff, and I'll just be like, oh, man, I wish you just wouldn't talk right there. But he's a funny guy, obviously. I memean, he's one of the biggest celebrities doing what I'm doing right now in the world. So I think he's really cool for the WWE, and he's a Pittsburgh guy, too. Grew up in Plum, and I am also a Pittsburgh native. I'm a Pitt guy, so I won't hold it against him that he played at WVU, but he missed 2 field goals in 2007 when Pitt beat him 13-9. So, another 10 minutes or so on the live stream. Man, you guys are holding in strong. 230 of you on the live now. I kind of thought that this would dissipate as the show went on. Just, people checking in and out. So I appreciate the numbers keeping really growing, as the stream has gone on. So I appreciate you guys for commenting. Tyler, Richard, you guys have been pretty active, as well as Jamie and Dylan out in the newsroom. Tyler Madden chiming in as well, saying go Huskies from earlier tonight as well. So thank you guys for tuning into the first live episode. Now, I don't envision this being a live show every week. With the various high school sports and stuff that we have to cover, it's just kind of hard to lock that down. But this is, a weekly thing. We'll have either something taped with a guest that'll come out on Tuesday afternoon, or we'll just kind of open it up like we are tonight, and we'll do it live. Of course, we'll let you know in plenty of time, promote it on our newscasts and on our social media pages as well. We'll go till 9, 8 minutes left. Again, if you guys got any other questions about anything sports, if you want to talk Steelers, if you want to talk NFL, we can do that too. The NFL draft's coming up. We're, I think, going to have something special planned tying in the NFL draft and this show. We're in the brand new WTOV9 Digital Content Center, and this camera that I'm looking to you at remains stationary, so I'm not going to be able to spin it around and show you, but we basically here at the station have turned one of our empty conference rooms into a brand new digital studio, which is phenomenal. The microphone, the headphones, new computers, all the software. So you're seeing a lot more of us on that front, and it's been a lot of fun. So I will tell you that right now that we have been talking about some ideas with the NFL draft and this particular podcast. So stay tuned as we iron out some details. First round of the draft coming up in a couple of weeks, I believe. What is that? 3 weeks from Thursday? No, 2 weeks from Thursday. 2 weeks, April 25th, round 1 of the NFL draft. Dad on YouTube, where did your passion for WWE come from? It certainly wasn't me, LOL. No, it wasn't you. Dad, thanks for tuning in. Just one of those things that was always on when I was little. Would watch it, and then I went away from it. Once you start doing things in high school, like playing sports and getting busier, and then found some idiot friends in college that also liked wrestling, and yeah. You get your classwork done in college, and you sit all your buddies down, and you watch Monday Night Raw and SmackDown and all the pay-per-views, and we made some noise in the dorms, that's for sure, and definitely maybe or maybe not have gotten some noise violations in that regard. Anything new, News 9 for sports in the next year off some having live basketball, baseball, football? Yeah, definitely more football, more basketball, more baseball coming up as we get towards the fall and the winter and things of that nature. One of the things that I'm planning on doing for this is last year we always kind of put out our live broadcast schedule for football games. One of the things that I've pitched, and everybody's like, absolutely, it's a good idea. I want to unveil our live football broadcast schedule on this show when that time comes. So that's something that you'll want to definitely look out for as well, as we'll go through all of our live games once our schedules become set in stone. I know already we're going through that process of trying to find some live games and circle some games that we want to air on our schedule. It's just one of those things where you got to get all the schedules, not all the teams. I believe even Big Red still has a couple of empty weeks that they're trying to fill. So as teams start to iron out their schedules and finalize them and send them to us, that's when we kind of start diving into it and picking some games to air live. We've had some really good ones in basketball season. The last couple of years with Lindsley and Wheeling Central have been phenomenal games. At the buzzer 2 years ago, Lindsley and Wheeling Central down to the wire this past year. One of our best viewed games was the Wheeling Park and Cameron girls game between two eventual state champions in West Virginia. Wheeling Park and the Patriots there winning the 4A state championship, Cameron winning their third straight Class A girls title. And speaking of girls basketball, how about what Caitlin Clark did for the women's game? 18-some million viewers for that national championship. It's pretty darn cool. Really, really cool stuff. And I think that that's just kind of going to have to translate. And what I think Caitlin Clark did for college basketball will remain the standard for women's college basketball, because there's some other stars coming back next year with Juju Watkins out at USC, who's really darn good. Richard Clark was awesome. She's the best player on the planet on the women's side for sure, and I think that you'll see the effect, the Caitlin Clark effect, so to speak, translate over to the WNBA next year, and the WNBA will start to, benefit from the same unbelievable play you see from Caitlin Clark, and it's really awesome to see. Edison picking up Cameron Caldwell and at Shenandoah. I did not know that. So I always like when Ohio Valley teams pick up each other and create new matchups that way. One of the games that we aired a year ago was the first time since the 20s that Barnesville and Bel Air played. And we aired that on a Saturday down at Nelson Field in Bel Air, which was really fun. I was on the call for that game. So to see, Edison picking up Cameron, Caldwell, and Shenandoah, 3 OVAC teams, that's really cool to see as well. Couple of minutes left. Again, I want to thank you guys for joining the live, and I think we're up almost 245 across all of our social media platforms. That is the most I think I've seen pretty much all night, and we're nearing towards the end. I'd love to stay on here all night and talk with you guys, but we got to go put some sportscasts together for 10 and 11 this evening. So yeah, busy show tonight, busy couple of weeks ahead with the NFL draft. The Pittsburgh Steelers, they're going to stay put at 20? Are they going to move down? Are they going to prioritize center or tackle? We'll dive into all that more so next week. I have a couple of ideas for people that I want to bring on for the podcast in that regard that cover the Steelers and maybe even cover the NFL nationally. Something to look out for as well as we get talking about the NFL draft. Again, thank you guys so much for joining me for the last hour. It's been fun. This is Jacked Up. I'm Jack Hillgrove. As we near towards 9 o'clock, this is where we will say goodbye. Richard, thanks for watching. Thanks for all your comments, man. I appreciate you guys engaging with me. And again, next time we do this, please don't be shy. We'll talk about whatever the heck you want to talk about in the wide world of sports, up and down and across the Ohio Valley and beyond. Another one, Wheeling Park, Sean coming in. Martins Ferry picking up River, Cambridge, Brownsville, and Rootstown. I'd be lying if I told you where Rootstown was, if I knew where Rootstown was. But Ferry picking up River and Cambridge is really cool too. Again, local teams playing local teams. I am all for that as well. So as we say goodbye, again, be sure to like and subscribe on Facebook, on YouTube, and follow us on X. I'm at JackWTOV9 on Jack. Maddie says, great job, Jack. Thank you, Maddie. I appreciate you for tuning in as well. Yeah, so like, subscribe, all that fun stuff on Facebook, on YouTube, on X. Give us a follow, and be sure to tune in with us as we roll along here. Again, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will talk to you guys soon. So again, be well, be safe, be healthy, all that fun stuff, and we will be talking to you in a little bit. Take care. Adios.